listening to the Power of Inspiration and Awakening Radio with Julia Griffin. To master a higher frequency for a new state of mind. Once you walked in a forest of splendor in which everything you did and everything you thought was aligned. It is possible at this time to begin to return to the old knowledge. Intuitive healer and manifestor Julia Griffin is here to talk about this unique time in history when all sentient beings, animals, plants, trees, and the earth are intent on creating this change. The wolves awakened her to the most incredible light, which opened gifts and brought knowledge that she longs to share. You are creators, and you are born to be creators of beauty, possibility, and joy. Join Julia on a journey into a beautiful and magical world where amazing possibilities exist. Let us help open the door. The Power of Inspiration and Awakening with Julia Griffin starts right now.
Hello, everyone. I'm Julia Griffin, and you're listening to The Power of Inspiration and Awakening on Transformation Talk Radio. Stay with us for the next hour and let us help you experience a higher vibration and a new state of mind. For those of you who are not familiar with me, I awakened with wolves. When I met a wolf, it talked to me just as people talk, and they taught me to read the energy of the heart. I can intuitively hear plants, animals, and people, and I became an intuitive healer and writer as a result. You can find me at trueself.com. So now let's go into the show. Let me tell you about today's guest, Suzanne Worthley, who is here to tell us about the collective awakening. And we're not just going to talk about everybody waking up. We're going to talk about some of the challenges and some of the things that are changing that we're both very aware of, and I think it will help you a lot. And then we're going to talk about her new book, Secrets of a Starseed. So let me tell you about Suzanne. She's been an energy healing practitioner, intuitive, and psychic empath for more than 2 decades. Throughout her teaching and learning, she's discovered everyone has the ability to heal, reduce stress, and co-create their life, as well as understanding how mind, body, emotions, and spirit are connected. She teaches about consciousness studies and energy work and offers spiritual tours in Peru and Sedona, Arizona. She is the author of an Energy Healer's Book of Dying, The Confident Empath, and the new book we're going to talk about today, Secrets of a Starseed. So stay with us and let's get started. Welcome, Suzanne. So glad to have you back.
It's great to see you, especially during this crazy time. I love connecting with someone like you that can really talk about it deep.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
so should we talk, you want to talk about the collective awakening first? I kind of think that
I
makes
think
sense.
I think so. I would love that. Yeah, it's kind of a crazy time period, and if people are thinking that they're losing their marbles, I think they're right on track. Right. Yeah, it's a for me, usually Lionsgate, which is the portal in August. So 8/8 usually for me personally sets the trajectory for the rest of my year. That really leads up to winter solstice kind of a perspective. And this year has been kind of nutty ever since August, right? And the actual collective energies and the planetary energies and the comet, which we'll talk about, I'm sure, and all of this included, has really rocked our planetary system and hence our bodies. And this is probably the most chaotic year I've felt coming into December. So I think that can be super exciting, but it also can be very confusing.
I agree with you, and I see the chaos is continuing into 2026. So for those of you who are new to this, it's time to start meditating and reading books and learning more or finding a teacher. Because,
Totally
yeah,
agree.
because there's not going to be less, there's going to be more. And for those of you who are in astrology, there's this very magical trine between Uranus, which is change and spiritual awakening, Neptune, which is mysticism, and Pluto, which is a combination of the subconscious and transformation. So energetically, the stars are kind of asking us to step into that window or that triangle to receive the new world. The thing is that it's not easy because the energy is so jumbled up right now.
hmm And both the electric energy and the magnetic energy. So oftentimes I find in my client work that people will gravitate like, oh, I can really ground myself into the earth and I can feel better, or oh, I can really connect up into the cosmic and I can feel better. Well, both of those are taking a hammering right now, and they're kind of colliding and hammering each other with us in the middle like a sandwich cookie, you know?
Right.
So we're getting really beat up. I actually have been encouraging a lot of my clients to ground differently, especially if they are an earth oriented person, if they're really into, Mother Earth itself, etc., and connecting into the rocks and such. I'm actually encouraging them to lift that up and to really ground into the heart chakra because the Schumann resonance is off the charts and it's just blowing and we're having earthquakes and we're having all of the shimmers. And so I have been encouraging lift that up and really draw in your cosmic and pull up your magnetic and really build out that heart chakra as your foundation now. Are
So
you
a
doing
wider
it?
aura as opposed to up or down.
Yeah, yeah. Are you kind of looking at the same and just really going horizontally out?
Yeah. So let's tell them, you said the Schumann resonance, but when we have the solar flares, and I think everybody knows those are happening, the magnetic field, which is kind of what holds the Earth together or magnetizes us to the Earth, begins to fluctuate.
Right.
So you've got the two ways that we normally ground ourselves are just going like this.
Or kind of like this.
Yeah, exactly,
Right.
depending on
Yeah.
what it is. And
Yeah.
all that's really left is the heart. And that's, I was telling Jessica, our producer, and she's more than just that at the station before we started. It's like I wake up and I think, oh, I've got to do this, I've got to do this. And it never bothered me before to do 10 or 12 things in a day. And
Mm,
now I feel anxious. And I realized it's a combination of that and other people. They think it's about the holidays, but
right.
it's not.
I think
About the energy.
we're having a difficult time with other people's energy, like you're referring to, because the human projects so much in our belief systems outward into what we would call our reality. And if we're really not aware of how much our belief systems are what are projecting outward and then bouncing back to us to create our so-called knowledge base, we're encountering all kinds of fear-based things and people and situations and land and you name it. And so bouncing back to us is even more fear right now. And it's really tough. And so studying energy is really a bit important right now and really protecting that heart, not out of fear, but out of holding on to your own individualized fuel, right? This is that
Right.
empathy
Because when you
thing,
feel the love, you pop out of it.
right? Especially in the holidays, it's really
I
tough.
know. Well, I would say people's thoughts about the holidays are really tough.
In the belief systems and the old narratives,
Yeah.
I personally love the holidays because I come from a gigantic, ridiculous family that just enjoys the heck out of it and does all kinds of silly stuff. And,
Hmm.
I really navigate them quite well. We have so many of our birthdays because my parents, 9 months before December
Oh,
was their
right.
birthday, if you can follow that math.
Yeah.
So 4 out of the 6 of us are born in December. So we have a
Me
lot of
too.
celebrating. Yeah. You
Me
too?
too. Yeah.
That's
Sagittarius
funny.
holiday.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it can be a fun time, but boy, can it ignite some old belief systems and old memories too. So it's a tough time for many. I can really empathize with that.
So if you think that you're being kind of nutty or you're not together, that's not true. You're just feeling the energy. Okay, you sent a great newsletter about what was going on with the collective and what we were experiencing from it. Do you want to tell them a little bit about that?
Yeah, I have been doing better at blogging again. I sort of took a back seat doing my blogs, but it has been so important lately to start sharing and looking outward for validation that indeed we're not crazy. And so I've committed to a series this month to just tell people if you're losing time, if you walk into the room, you have no idea what you were doing, if your body all of a sudden is having all kinds of ascension symptoms again, from anxiety and emotion to physical things like, the joint pain when, oh gosh, I thought I was doing better on that. And now my joints are killing me again. And the headaches and the eyes and the jaw and all of those physical things are ramping up again. And the emotional roller coaster that we're on. And then lots of it has to do with spiritual too, because of this comet business and us going into our Akashic for the solstice period and changing our trajectory as a human race and a planet. This is all very spiritual work at the same time. So we're getting hit on physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual levels all at the same
And I would say the earth is saying, hey, when the winter solstice comes, everybody's going to change. Get ready.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the fear too, though, Julia, being that when we hear things like, oh, everything's going to change on the 19th, and then the 20th comes in and it's still kind of chill, we think, oh, did I miss it? Did the bus pick everybody else up and I'm still
No,
kind
it's like the beginning of summer in the South, where it
of
might still be wonderful and spring-like, or it might be 95. It doesn't
right?
matter. It just means you're going into summer.
Exactly. And we're
Yeah.
transmuting and transitioning. So, however that looks for you is going to be right for you at this time period in your life. And just really bringing the expectations of the craziness down a little bit because, boy, can you two blow that up, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we've got aliens landing, we've got motherships floating, and it's like, come on, we can just kind of turn some of this down and be okay with, moving through these time periods with a really great inner work more so than waiting for the salvation from the outside.
I agree. Just stay open, say, maybe this is true, maybe it isn't, but I'm going to come back and focus on my heart, feeling
Yes.
good, taking care of myself, doing whatever feels right for me.
I love when you said more towards the beginning, taking more quiet time, doing more meditating. I personally have really ramped up my routine on that as well. I get a lot of out of body time and meditative time because of my actual work. But when I work on Suzanne, for Suzanne, in terms of her higher self, I've ramped up my morning time and really am focusing on bringing in that calm and really working hard with the meat and the bone situation to command of myself that I can navigate this time with some decency and grace and ease. And it's really worth it. I mean, it is really worth committing, I believe.
It's like it gives you a little edge between you and the outer world.
Yes. And then also it will help you with your judgment.
Yes.
Because when you're seeing the crazy out there and I can have this tendency to flip into, well, if they were just doing their work, and then that is so uncalled for.
I
So
know, or I'll think, now how
non-negative.
many unhappy people are driving? And then I think, okay, you know the rule, people can't drive and you wanted to drive. I'm
Yeah,
like,
it's
all
hard
right, I'll
though.
only think good things.
Yep. And at least, here's my suggestion. If you do have the verbal vomit and emotion or words, stop, take a breath, and reparadigm shift because we can shift the energy in that instance when we catch ourselves instead of shaming ourselves for that we slipped, right? And so just be present with it and choose again. And I think that's a really good message to get out to
And I
people.
make up stories like maybe their husband is mad at them and he's talking on the phone, or maybe they have a child that just threw an orange at them or something, or maybe this old person hasn't driven in 2 years,
I
or
do
maybe
the
they're
same
just
thing.
learning how to drive and then I
Yeah.
forget about it because the stories are fun.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I make up stories. That's super funny. I never knew that about
I
me.
know it's a great distraction. Then all of a
Yeah.
sudden I'm in my imagination, then I don't care. Okay,
Well,
so
and it
tell us,
lifts it
go
lifts
ahead.
your joy factor. It lifts you up when you make a
Hmm.
silly story, right? Yeah.
And I just think I was such a bad driver when I first started driving in traffic because I learned in a place where there were 2 lanes and no cars.
Oh dear. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Like
Yeah.
out in the sticks.
Yeah. So, and
So
here
I
you
think,
about it.
maybe this is just the return of the compassion that other people showed me.
Yeah, it's a little tough out here right now. We're snowy, we're slushy, we're slippery, and everybody's fear-filled, and it's a little bit nutty in terms of the actual, predicament with weather, etc. So just taking time and patience and breathing is really critical for this time period, I believe.
I think so too. And you can put a bubble around your car.
Yeah, and
That
everybody
helps a
else's.
lot. Then at least I feel safe, whether I know I'm safe, I should say.
Yeah. So
Okay, so
back to if people are really feeling out of sorts, what I suggest and a lot of my empath information that I share and teach is really concentrate on going inward and saying, is this mine? Is this even my sad? Is this my crazy? Is this my upset? Or is this something that I'm just glomming onto? Because I was even working with my daughter the other day and we were chatting while she was driving and she hit a panic kind of feeling. And I said, check in. Is this even yours? And she's like, no, it's really weird. And she said, it's the neighborhood, which indeed was a really difficult, tough neighborhood. So I said, instead of panicking, just blow your love bubble up, and send out love while you're driving instead of worrying that something's happening to you, right? So
and there's
asking
yeah, there's a trick about love and light. People who are on a low vibration don't want to be in it, so they'll get out of your way.
that, good point.
Yeah. So
That's
so I kind of
interesting.
think about it that way. I'll just do so much love and light that they all go somewhere else. Um, what would you say are some of the other challenges? I think everybody's emotional right now.
In my opinion, when we encountered this three-eye atlas comet coming through, I coined it for myself as like an Akash mobile, an Akashic situation. And when you can relate it back to that, we can see why, Julia, that a lot of us are bringing up emotional lineage and DNA releases. Because if I'm actually having something float over me or is in my space, whether it's my personal space, my solar system space, or my universe space, and it's taking anything that no longer serves me. Just think of how much of the files we can be releasing, not only as an individual, but a humanity, as a planet, etc. And releasing all of that DNA lineage, that horror, that war, that trauma, that childhood stuff, all of those things we're releasing. Well, when we release that, it's not necessarily pretty. And it feels
Mm-mm.
like we're stirring the pot, right? But if we don't know we're stirring the pot and doing either individual or collective releases, we will then jump right back into fear and kind of perpetuate that and spin the pot even more. So it's
Right. Or you think I
understanding.
lived through this, and what happens if I open up my life? It's going to happen again. Oh no.
Yep.
That's one of those thoughts that come with it. The Atlas, I have, I don't perceive a very strong love vibration, but I do get an informational vibration.
Right.
Carries a tremendous amount of information.
And to me, it literally is like a floating library, and you can tap into as much information as you want to because it feels like it's carrying files and files and files that can be ancient. The only time that I tapped into love when I was meditating with it was twice when I went in and specifically, and maybe you can try this and see what you get, specifically went into my Akash that was housed as an ancient within that vessel and asked, show me more of who I truly am. And that's when I hit the overwhelming of essence love. And that was fascinating.
That's a big light. I can feel it just thinking about it.
Super fun. And everyone has the right to do that because we're all a soul essence, right? And we can feel that collective love soul essence if we ask this comet or the Akash mobile, whatever you want to call it.
Mm.
If you can ask the Akash to show you that and let you connect with that, it can indeed be this overwhelming nurturant of love, like a mother god energy. So that's the only reason why I felt the love. Others that have been online are saying, oh, it's so loving, it's so loving. And I'm like, well, I kind of got more informational like you.
Yeah. I do think when you were saying that, that it can definitely reveal some of our lifetimes when we were at a much higher place of light. And if you can let that come in, it's going to displace a lot of the older records.
And do lineage healing in a heartbeat, right? I mean, so
Hmm.
many people right now, because we're in that holiday period in this transition, of frequencies and raising our vibration, etc. We absolutely are being pushed to dump anything fear-based. And if we've got a lineage that is fear-based and abuse-filled, etc., this is the time. I mean, there's not a whole lot of time left to do this. And I don't want to be the dork that's scaring people on the internet. That's not what I'm saying. But it's
No.
a personal choice. It's a personal choice on how much one wants to release all the time. But the more you choose to release, like right now, the faster you will transition into that love base, right?
Well, the better you'll feel, because
Hmm.
this stuff isn't heavy. The earth
Right,
memories are heavy.
right, right.
I mean,
And
I'll say it a
yeah.
different way that came to me. It's like, for example, I spent a lot of lifetimes, certainly with my father's side of the family, at least five or six. So I tend to think of that as my family. But if I go up to that really high vibrational thing, I have different parents.
Oh.
Yeah.
And if you go up even higher, I guess to what I was asking to reveal is ask to see who is my true essence. What
Right.
is my true essence? What is my
Hmm.
true purpose, etc. And then you go up even higher than necessarily even an incarnated body. It's really pretty fun.
Yeah. I'm just saying the more we can, on one hand, there's an identity with our lives here, and that's
Hmm.
good. I'm not saying it's bad. On
Yep.
the other hand, there are identities that we have as far as our lives are concerned, that it's good to release some of it and be more open to other ideas.
Totally 100%. And that can happen in a flash right now. I mean, I
Hmm.
used to do lineage clearing on clients, and it would take pretty much effort to really concentrate and do that. And now it's just like, boom, you can feel it just like boom, release so quickly. It's
I,
amazing.
and I know in the past, sometimes I would have to say it again and again and again.
Hmm.
Like every time we had a session, we would have to do it all over again.
And I think people get confused about that too, Julia, in terms of if I release my family, then I will release the connection to my family. And that's not the case. That's not what we're talking about. We're
No,
talking about the file frequencies that no longer serve you.
right. Not
And
loving. No, and we're not talking about whether you love or don't love your parents.
right. And so people get very confused when they're like, if I say I'm going to do lineage clearing, and it's like, oh, but then won't I see my parents when I'm on the other side? And it's like, no, that's not what this is.
I think it's
So
like
yeah,
clearing karma and clearing memories. Like I can still remember things, but there's not that emotional impact that was there. It's more like watching a movie, if I recall it, with the
perfect way to
volume
say it.
off.
Perfect way.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I always say it's like a read-only PDF file because then you can't get intricately involved in the chords of that actual emotion or physicality. It's really important.
yeah. But
Yeah.
it's not like you're going to lose all your memories. It's just that you're not going to respond negatively anymore to the old bad ones, which is great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
It's
so you
amazing.
have a great definition of ascension and being here on the earth, and there's so many people who say, we're going to go over here and then we'll be on a new earth. Would you address that for us?
Yeah, I think that really confuses people. The new earth confuses people. And again, I teach from the concept of your perception. When I'm walking through the life, even right now, Suzanne's perceiving a holographic reality out here that is foundationally embedded by the narrative that's running in my head that's
Right.
individually mine, right? So my narrative can be perceiving a completely different experience than yours or hers or his or whomever already without this even bifurcation or this split into the three and the five. So we really have been doing this work anyway,
Yeah.
right? We really are. But what the ascension process is we're not going anywhere. We're not getting to a different planet. The other planet is not going to. But what happens is when we have those train tracks kind of separate. And eventually, those people, those things, those experiences, those memories that no longer resonate for you sort of get farther and farther away. And then
Right.
eventually, you don't see them anymore.
Like having a close friend in high school and not talking to them for 20 years, it's not the same.
Right. And it's very, very similar to that in that all of a sudden you'll find somebody, if you're doing your work, that just doesn't have a frequency that you resonate with anymore and feels what we would coin toxic. And you have every right to change that relationship. And eventually that toxic person or event or whatever just basically disappears out of your life. And then it isn't even thought of. So it isn't that we're going somewhere, it's the perception and the dialogue and the story that changes.
Right. We'll be in a different story.
For sure. And
Yeah.
hopefully, we're rewriting ours right now with this opportunity of December and into January, where we have this opportunity to kind of like re-narrate and really re-choose what we want our story to be. I think that that's extremely powerful.
I do too, and it's something people can start to work on in meditation. I wanted to bring up hologram because I've actually been teaching that in class for a couple months. And someone asked me where it came in, and I said, well, when I was with the wolves, they taught me that you have to have these living pictures for your life to change.
Mm,
And you have to feel emotional about them. It can be like being connected emotional, but you have to have an emotional response. So I gave them the example of what is it like in the grocery store, which is icky right now. Then I said, what is your favorite restaurant like? What does it feel like when you have your favorite meal there?
hmm.
What does it feel like when you leave? And I said, so whether you know it or not, we all navigate through life with holograms. So I said, now tell me, how do you get home from the restaurant? Well, of course, they have a whole set of holograms and directions. And then what home feels like. People don't understand that we navigate energetically.
Interesting. That's interesting. And then I teach it a completely different way, and
Oh, let's hear it. They'll be fun.
nobody's right or wrong. It all works
No,
together, but that's
right.
super interesting. Now, I have been actually working with light because I do light fractal work in the grids.
Mhm.
And so when I work in the grids with light fractals, I have been playing in my healing room like a little kid the last couple of weeks because I went and got these Christmas lights that go and project on your house, but I project them in my room
Oh,
really
neat.
bright, right? And then I burn sage in front of it so that when the sage smoke comes up in front of those lights, you can actually see the beam come out
Right.
versus just the light on the wall, if you're
Yeah,
following.
I'm following.
So when I stand in the beam, I can imagine with all of my essence on what I do telepathically out in the grids in terms of I take things in the beam and I weave and I create also and lock in what you're talking about is the vision
Hmm.
or the picture. So that's super cool because then I can literally embody the feeling of what I do telepathically by standing in those smoky beams and watching the actual intricate lights all correlate and create and hold that picture.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone's going to get this because I don't think they ever have before, but you will. And that is that all intuitives have pictures that they navigate with and
Yeah, yeah.
places that they navigate to and from.
And I oftentimes will take geometrics and navigate that way and grab, like, I will take a whatever, let's say it's a platonic solid of a cube, and I will attach that cube to these different fractal lights, and then I'll spin factor it with color and sound and frequencies to change the trajectory of what's going to reflect back out again. So that's kind of how that grid work happens with the spin factor.
Let's give them an easy one with sacred geometry. If there's a storm and you're worried about it, which if you live on the East Coast, that happens,
Yeah,
you can do a big triangle over where you live. And if
that's
you
cool.
want to, you can make it a pyramid. And I
Yep.
promise you, you will be absolutely safe and the storm will move away.
And
All
I
the
do
natural, yeah,
I
all the
do that
natural
exactly.
forces, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
respond to sacred geometry.
And what I do is I ask for highest and best good too, and I will have a storm pass away from my area unless the divine needs to have the rain in that area, it will override my request, right? So
Right.
I will do the same thing and bubble like my home or my cabin and work with my trees and plant with geometrics so that things are safe, and then I'll divert the storm.
Yeah. But I always say, universe, you put it where it should go, but keep me safe.
Right. That's awesome.
Yeah. Because when I first started doing it, I would have friends who would call me and say they were worried and the storm would go there,
Yeah,
because that's where their attention was going and I was on the opposite end. So then I
exactly.
started changing it and saying the universe knows I'm divinely protected.
And the way I explained that, what happened to your friend, is when I talk to clients about grids, if you have a thought, it will be a horizontal line, for example, and then your emotion will be a vertical one. And then I have another thought and a emotion, thought, emotion, thought,
Hmm.
emotion. And when we're done with that, it's a grid. So, of course, she pulled in exactly what she didn't want because she wasn't clear to the universe what she was
Right.
putting out.
And she interrupted the end of my meditation.
I do have a lot of friends call and say, "Hey, we're having a wedding outside. Can you lock down the weather?" So
Yeah.
that's
So
kind
that's
of
what I
funny.
mean. I mean, people do that when you're intuitive. They just do.
Yeah, but that's kind of fun. I mean, it is if it works for the universe, great. I mean, I think that's fine, right?
I know, just give the universe a choice.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we're
But
not commanding or controlling. We're just saying if it can work this way, that would be fabulous. Thank you.
I think when we break down those concepts and those ideas and the way that you're teaching hologram also is very important because people do not truly embody the concept that we are co-creating everything every second by our thoughts and emotions.
Right.
And they cannot get their head around that we capture and create. And those creations are based in our beliefs. And that's a really, that's a lot of blah, 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 blah for somebody that goes right over their head unless they
I
say,
know. It's like
what?
the restaurant is partially good, A, because of a good cook, but somebody imagined it. Then we've got all these layers of people coming in thinking it's wonderful.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's
And
been
experience,
energized. Yeah,
yes, experiencing the wonder. And again, locking in the senses are so important also. Now you can taste and smell and hear and the whole nine yards, right?
right.
So then it even locks in the validity of that hologram even more. But I'm hoping when we get to these frequencies, that are allowing us to see multidimensionality now,
Hmm.
that people are going to open up faster and quicker to this concept of holograms because these dimensional frequencies are changing so much. And we can talk about that when we come back from break two in terms of this light that's coming in is allowing us to traverse differently.
I
And so
agree.
we're exposed so much more, right?
I know. I mean, I think people are really lucky because things clear more quickly. If I have a thought about awakening, the class usually gets it. When before I'd have to explain it 4 or 5 times. There is a
Mhm.
real speed up with things right now.
Right. And instant manifestation, so be careful. Right?
Tell the universe, if it's in my best and highest good. You can
Right,
change it if it's not.
right.
Because sometimes I work really hard to manifest things and then I'm like, okay, but you can change it if you need to. I'm not
And
always.
I feel that it's really important also to check in, is this my ego manifestation or my divine manifestation?
Oh, good idea. That's great.
Right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that.
And
Yeah.
it doesn't mean ego's bad, like we said. We need an individualized ego because we are an individualized actual embodiment, right? But to do an alignment check to make sure that my ego isn't over here, all of a sudden just wanting to be this, I'm creating all this versus
Uh,
divine is saying, wait a minute.
yeah, I come through you to create this. So I
Yeah.
think we're up to break. So I'm Julia Griffin at One True Self, and I've been talking with Suzanne Worthley, and we're talking about the current collective awakening. If you're feeling the awakening, all this information is going to help you. And we'll also be talking about her new book, Secrets of a Starseed. It's all fascinating, so stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. I'm Julia Griffin, and you're listening to The Power of Inspiration and Awakening on Transformation Talk Radio. I'm talking with Suzanne Worthley about the current collective awakening. If you want to listen carefully, you're going to hear some things you wouldn't usually know. And we're going to talk a little bit about her new book, Secrets of a Starseed. So during the break, we were talking about how if you look at social media, there are a lot of things that can kind of hijack your mind. Like sometimes I'll see something and I'll know it's not really true, but I'll think, so what are they saying? And then I'll be like into it a paragraph later. So we wanted to tell you a little bit about that. I'll let you start with that, Suzanne.
Yeah, I think especially we were talking about people that are just stepping into this or maybe have taken a break and they want to get back in. And a lot of times we find ourselves jumping onto social media and then the algorithm attacks us, right? And then,
Hmm.
oh my goodness, my feed is going to be full of everything and anything that is kind of finding a keyword. Oftentimes we will get things that are pretty much garbage. And how do we let our body be the leader of that? How does our body be the one that tells us what is good for us or not good for us, or what is true guidance or not true guidance, versus our head just agreeing that it is something because it's there and it's online. I love when people say everything on the internet is true, though. It's like, right. So you said that you talk about the voice way, and then I'm going to talk about the body.
Oh, okay. So you can hear it now. My voice is a little higher than usual. When I'm connected to my inner self, notice that it's really smooth. If I was going to tell my dog to move, I'd say, River, move. See how that's a lower, harsher voice?
Mm-hmm.
So one thing I can do is say, am I connected to my inner self? Yeah. Or I could say, or is it my ego? Now, in this case, I get no, but there are plenty of times I'm out of my inner self and I've got to meditate and then come back and ask or see what I really believe.
I
Or
love
you can
that.
try reading it. If you read it and it sounds weird, it's probably not right.
And just to caveat that at the very end too is to extend it or expand it. I, when in doubt, ask three times because I do a lot of things with the Trinity three. And the first one you're kind of like, I don't know. And then the second one you're locking in to your actual higher self and divine self. And by the time the third one comes out of your mouth or read, you're like, yep, yep. So the Trinity can assist in that as well. I think that's
And
important.
And another thing is sometimes I'll ask trivial things that I shouldn't do. Like I can say, I'm bored. Should I go to the outlet mall and get a shirt? Well, I know the answer is going to be no. So, I'll do two or three questions like that. Should I not write and go to the grocery store right now?
Right.
No.
Yeah.
Should I believe what I'm reading? And I might get a no or I might get partially true.
I love that because you divert the ego mind and just get ready. The one that I love to bring forward for my clients or students or whatever is to use your body. And I actually do this all the time. Our body is a pendulum. So a lot of people will use a pendulum for a tool. And a pendulum, can oftentimes just be a crystal on the end of a whatever. But your body's already the pendulum. That's why the pendulum works.
Hmm.
And so you can just go to your heart space and everything that is something that you want, it's inherently obvious that the body goes forward, right?
Right.
And if something is something we're regressing from or we don't want, we go backwards. So it's super easy also to just go to heart space, take a breath or two, and then just and then watch how the body goes and do your best to keep some soft knees. I mean, this is the way that I bought cars, I buy computers, I buy wine. I mean, you name it, I just stick it there and go, do I want this one? Do
Well,
I want this
that's the
one?
most basic way of muscle testing is, to see if your body goes backwards or forward. Now, I
Perfect.
will muscle test sometimes for generational things or chakras or an answer for clients, but it doesn't work for me. But the going forward and the going backward does work for me.
And everybody can do that. It's pretty
Yeah,
simple. Yeah, super
yeah.
easy.
Just do it on a rug the first time.
Well, yeah. And guidance is tough these days. There is a lot of garbage out there. That's the beauty of social media, and it's also the curse of social media. So allow yourself to be able to turn something off if it doesn't resonate for you. Especially when we get into these conversations of things like, ascension and star seeds and aliens and contact and paranormal and all these things that are ooh, there's so many people that love to make things sound like doom and gloom or really scary or fear-based. And so those are usually your indicators to go, I don't need to be doing this to my
And you've
program.
got to realize too, if it's controversial, they're getting a lot of comments and likes.
Yeah. And watch also that there's a lot of trolling in the comments that can really
Right.
spin your head too. And you can believe those. And actually, the half of it that is fake. So there's so much illusion right now, right? It's important to really trust your physical form the most with a somatic response. I think that's really critical.
You probably think the same thing that I do, that in intuitions, you're more likely to feel in your body and your emotions than in your head.
Well, I believe that the emotions that are in your head are only coming because your mental field is already pushing the program.
Hmm.
Do you know what I mean? So
I,
it's
I don't
really
know. I have a lot of feelings, and then they're accompanied by an emotional response. It's almost like a yes or a no.
okay. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I also believe people should know their triggers, oh, my hair is raised on my arm, so my throat choked up, or my
right,
neck got tight. These are all beautiful aspects of being a human body, for
right.
sure.
And sometimes it's just a tingle and your whole field opens up, which is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the best one of all.
Right. And the more that we're practicing these things, moving into these higher frequencies, we were also discussing on break that the veils are changing, meaning these dimensional layer cakes that we've been living in used to be like a sponge cake with deep frosting and sponge cake with deep frosting. And now we have like an egg wash in between, and we can jump and move from dimension to dimension, which can be extremely confusing for people. And I can be in a timeline, and then I can be in two timelines, or I can jump back and forth in a timeline. And these are all variables that are happening faster and quicker because that frosting has now turned into egg wash in between, and the sponge cakes are mushing all together. And we're being able to just do so many things and see and feel and sense new colors, new sounds, new frequencies. And it kind of can freak you out if you're not really present with it.
Right. It's kind of like the first time you remember a past life and it feels like you've been gone for 15 minutes, but you're at work and nobody has noticed.
Isn't that the truth? Or you think you were meditating with some others or whatever, you think you've been gone for 2 minutes and you've actually been gone for 45.
Yeah.
I've done that one too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
it's
they're pretty
interesting.
wonderful things that this is happening, I think. I have noticed sometimes that when I'm clearing lifetimes for other people, now I don't go into mine, but I can see some of mine that are parallel to theirs, and that's
Oh,
interesting.
interesting.
Yeah.
That's super interesting. I can do that with lineage DNA stuff too. I can see that with timelines. Like I can see my family, not necessarily me, but my
Right.
family's lineage when I'm doing lineage on people too. So that's kind of cool. Yeah,
That's
we're very
interesting.
much oneness. We're getting to
Yeah.
one
Because I
everywhere.
always say, well, you have to wait until tonight. I'm like, okay. To look at my own stuff, I'll say
Oh,
I'll look
okay.
at it tonight. Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting.
I know it is fun because it brings up new things that I haven't even thought about yet. Okay.
I've been doing new things that I haven't thought about either, hence this playing with these lights and stepping into the actual 3D fractal light here and then transporting and astrally going where I need to go in my head, but letting my body have it. I mean, I'm playing like a little kid more than ever these days to just embody this physical form of mine to be able to enjoy the astral work. I think that's super fun.
I know it's very permeable right now. That is one good thing I will say about it. Oh, we should say there is not a date for ascension. It depends on our energy.
Well, and there's not an end either, right?
No,
I
there's
mean,
not. It's just an evolution.
yeah, everyone always talks about if I can finally this, then that, and I call that pushing the pen because I put it on my desk and I talk to a client. If that thing is there and you run towards that pen, it just simply rolls. And then you
Right.
chase it and then it rolls, and pushing the pen is even the thing for ascension or a timeline or anything. I mean, everything's just kind of in a swirl right now.
Well, it would be really terrible if we did all that work on evolving and then it was over.
Right? And
Yeah,
nobody's
wouldn't
even
that be
over when they're
awful?
so-called the when they're so-called dead or crossed. You're still not done. There isn't a
No.
done, you know.
No, we
So
might step into a better feeling world because
yeah.
we've created it through our own emotions, thoughts, and spirituality. But the work doesn't end. It's not like we're going to be put on permanent summer vacation.
And I do want to just dovetail that comment of that when you're gone from this planet, the work doesn't stop because people are leaving this planet very fast now. I mean, I did hospice work for years, and the hospice situation is completely different. And people are choosing to leave at younger ages, and there's no more that old programmed line of, oh, he or she died too young. People,
Mhm.
it isn't an age thing. It's a frequency thing. If I've hit my vibration of the work that I'm doing in this form, I leave,
Right.
right? And I leave to go do better, faster, quicker work in a different form and in a
Yeah.
different
My
vibration.
father died in 2012, and I can remember him giving me a clear message about 3 months before that when he said, I'm too old to do what you're doing. He said, if I'm going to do it, I want to come back in a new body.
Oh, that's a great line.
Yeah.
That's a great line. And the fun part is in between spaces, he doesn't even need a body and think how fast he can work.
No, he's just evolving and doing all kinds of light work because he understands it.
And it's important for us to know that you are still evolving in between lives and after you're so-called dead from this planetary experience or crossed, if we want to use that word. I love transmuted or transitioned because that's really what we do. But I think it's important for us to do as much work as we can here in human form for the experience of the work and clear that
Mhm.
vehicle as much as possible so that in between we can do it faster and quicker and easier, right?
Right. And it may become easy pretty soon. I don't think it's next year, but I think it's coming.
Yeah,
Snap. Okay, look, wow, that happened yet tomorrow, yesterday, whatever. Cool. I forgot
right.
this happened yesterday. All right, I'm really happy.
Yeah. And don't think you're nuts if you're off on time, by the way, because I never know if it's yesterday or today lately. I mean, I went through a whole conversation with my daughter about going somewhere on this particular day. I said tomorrow, and she said that's 2 days from now. And I go, no, no, that's tomorrow. And I had her totally convinced, and I was completely because
Wait,
my I'm just not in the right mind frame of what day it is sometimes. And you're not nuts and you're not paying attention. It's just time is weird.
I
Time is weird.
know. And I used to be able to say, what time is it? And I would get it exactly. And now it's like, I'm like, oh, okay, so it's that time.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's fun. It's a fun time. I think it's a fun time. I don't know. A lot of people are really nervous about this time, but I'm in awe of it,
I
actually.
think when we don't feel as much energy from mass consciousness, people will be in a really good place.
Beautifully said. And I first hope that people understand there is a mass consciousness.
It's the lower mass consciousness is the emotional, mental, and physical energy that surrounds the earth. And when you start to have a negative thought and you get obsessed with it, it's because you're tapping into lower mass consciousness.
Yep. It's like a well of water you keep drinking that's pretty toxic, right? Maybe
Yeah.
you should get a better water source.
And you think this silly thing like, well, if I cry more or I tell someone I'm mad, it'll get better. No, it won't. It'll get worse. Give it a break, then come back to it.
Interesting though, and I love that people are awakening, and I'm seeing in my practice more and more and more young to middle-aged men coming out of the woodwork, which is thrilling to me
Which
because
is
for
like
many,
finally.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Many years of this healing work, it's all been very primarily, driven by women, and I'm thrilled that there's a lot of, younger to middle-aged men coming forward. So I think that's super exciting.
Yeah, that's a good change.
Yep.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about your book with our remaining time so people can
Okay,
come
thank
and find
you.
your book and learn more?
I am launching on the 19th in conjunction with the Comet because I thought that that would be super fun. However, Amazon already has it uploaded and it's online. So this is the cover. I actually had the cover illustrated by one of my clients, so I'm thrilled that she did the original artwork for it. This is a kind of a labor of love in terms of this is my journey. It is my story because a lot of people, when we do this work, they say, "What the heck is your story?" And it is more of a working field guide memoir. It isn't like, oh, this is just my story. This is how I navigated learning how to come into my true mission as a star seed and as a light worker. Because when we started, Julie, there wasn't us online. We didn't have online podcasts. We didn't have anybody out there having curriculum on YouTube. We didn't have a place to study.
There
So
weren't even animal communicators, and I was hearing wolves.
well, and the word starseed wasn't even a thing, right? Nor was
Uh-uh.
empath, right? So we learned from ourselves and had a lot of trials and tribulations. And I really made a very vulnerable, honest effort to write all of that stuff down so people can not have my journey, but know that this is not easy and know that they're not, feeling these feelings because this isn't real, because it is. And
It
these
is
journeys
real.
are very real. And these dark nights are very, very real. So the whole first part of the book is very depicting the journey that I went on for the whole 60 some years of my life, knowing at age 5 and 6 that something was different about me, and then confirming it at 8 that I heard at 8 years old, you will be brought online for your mission when it's time. And I mean, who hears that when they're an 8 year old, right? So, but there are those people out there, and I want them to know that they're not alone. So that was the primary reason for writing it. And then the second half is opening up what I considered my secret vault of all of the crazy experiences and stories that I have done in this work, meaning off planet and on planet, but mostly off planet, and sharing things that people are probably going to say, "Where's the padded room?" But that's okay. I'm ready. I'm ready to accept that, and I don't. It's just it doesn't matter anymore. I think it's important to share.
Oh
So.
yeah, I mean, who knew that wolves could talk like people and that they have a whole mythology?
And if
That just
someone supported that for you when you were a kid, and hopefully they did in your family, your arena, but if that was a common knowledge for you, we wouldn't have struggled for 50 some years, right?
and it was just I would have dreams of the future and my parents would always tell me it wasn't going to happen. And then when it did, it was like, oh, what was that crazy show about psychic people? But anyway, it was like it would go da 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 da. Da.
Yeah.
We'll
And
have to
and
wait for him to stop barking. I'm sorry.
oh, I can't. I didn't even hear. Um,
Okay.
I I think the word starseed has been so distorted in the last couple of years also, and I wanted to bring forth a true practitioner kind of like element to it, that this is something that I do for work, not only for my clients, but more so for my soul, and that my soul work is different than my client work. And I fuse these together in some of the stories, but this is really more about Suzanne's soul work out in the matrix and what matrix work looks like. And I did my real best to use words and descriptions that are as clear as I possibly can for someone to understand what the heck the hologram again. What's the hologram? What's the matrix? What is it? Because we only think of Keanu Reeves flying around in that cool outfit. It's a real thing for a lot of us. Going on ship is a real thing for a lot of us. Downloads are real for a lot of us. These are things that I would like to bring forward and have real deep conversations with people on so that they don't think that we're making this stuff up or shy away or unplug it in themselves.
No, and it often happens at sacred sites, the
Yes.
complete download and the huge information that comes in.
On the second half, part two, in the vault stories, I have two from Peru that were pretty insane, where I sucked into a rock in one of them and did interplanetary things on the other one, and then the other one was the sacred site in Monument Valley, and I think that's probably the biggest story in part two and the most inclusive because that's when I met a higher version of me, and that was really tough. It was really tough. It wasn't easy.
I,
So.
I am trying to think that I should. Oh, you said not to, for people not to think that they're from certain planets or universes, just to accept that there are a lot of us that have that
Yeah,
intergalactic
Yeah,
influence.
I think a lot of people, when you get into this world of, the alien or the Galactic Federation and all those buzzwords that everybody throws around, and then they all glom onto, oh, I'm a Palladian and I'm an Arcturian. And I went to a conference once and somebody asked me what I was, and I looked at her and I'm like, excuse me. What do you mean? She goes, well, what starseed are you? And I'm like, wow. So again, to me, that's a label. And I don't believe we need labels. I think when we get to our true essence, all we are is light. And I've been to that essence place several times. And I believe that there is no need for that label. If you personally want that label, have at it. I think that that's great. But I believe it's a limitation.
Yeah, and I liked what the wolves said, that we came from another solar system on a wave of life, wave of light into bodies that were already evolved.
And how beautiful is that that's happening absolutely right now when our sun is coronal mass injecting and or solar flaring after this comet load up with an Akashic that's going to give us our ancient history of ourselves. How much more perfect is what the wolf said right now, once again? Because that's what we are. We're cyclical, right? And I mean, that's what these
Hmm.
journeys are. There's cycles and cycles.
Right.
So,
And it's just how the Earth works.
yeah.
Different planets, but that way here. Okay, so we're coming to the end. So let us know about any of your upcoming activities or your website so people can find you.
Website is simply my name, S. Worthley, so SWORTHLEY.com. Everything is on there. You can get all three of my books on there, or simply Google my name and they all come up. They're on Barnes and Noble, they're on Amazon, they're on my site. I am, like I said, blogging very intensely for the next little bit. I will be announcing my whole new class of schedules. One of the things that I encourage for people is my Vibe Tribe membership because I do advanced training every month with that. You can find all of that on my website. So sworthley.com is your go-to. So thank you for asking.
That sounds great. It was so wonderful having you.
Yeah.
So for you folks up there, you can find my website, onetrueself.com, and you can sign up for my newsletter. And I always have something going on, so feel free to write and ask me about it. Thank you so much for being with me, Suzanne. Namaste.
Thanks. Cosmic hugs.
Thank you for listening to the Power of Inspiration and Awakening Radio with Julia Griffin to master a higher frequency for a new state of mind. Join us next time as Julia takes us deeper into the memory of the moments of light where transcendence and enlightenment emerge. The memory of the jewel of consciousness is always lived within you to tap into waves of energy and create huge changes by imagining the beauty of the vision and desires that are hidden in the heart. Learn to find your way back to nature, beauty, and your own heart, which holds the secrets of your existence and future. To discover more about Julia's adventures, animal communication, and the teachings she brings to every show, visit onetrueself.com. That's onetrueself.com. That's ONE, trueself.com.